time, boys. It's here. So I'm just sitting there watching everything go down. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm just watching everything as it updates in real time. And shit already getting spicy. It's 2020. We all knew a finale like this was coming. But as you've seen me say before, I've been constantly saying the right is becoming the 2016 left. And I think after the election, if it's finally called, investigations done, whatever, and it goes for Biden, it's going to be hilarious. Now, I don't want him to win. I fucking hate him. But you know, whatever happens, happens. We'll see. But I'm already seeing people on the right say, even if everything's said and done, everything's investigated, everything's done, they will not accept it as legitimate. And I'm like, how long before they go around with signs screaming, not my president, like the left does? I said this is gonna happen. And we will soon have the TikTok freakouts, which I am looking forward to on either side. We already know what the leftist ones are like. They're like screaming, yelling, and screeching incoherently. If the right starts doing it, their tantrums are gonna be more like, that's it, Ben! The communists have taken over! Grab your guns, get your rations! Build your bomb shelters in your basement! It'll probably be something closer to that. Maybe like an Alex Jones style freakout. Anyway, besides that, you know here on this channel, we are equal opportunity. We laugh at the left, we laugh at the right. Today we're gonna laugh at the right, because Daily Wire put out a video, and they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And this is literally just a right-wing scare video, where I've talked to people on the right, where they'll go, this word is bad, and the right goes, this word's bad, and they go, what does this word mean? And they either give a wrong definition or they don't know. So let's look at this, because this was fucking hilarious. I love it.
America is facing down a revolution. Because we're not in a fight right now between two different ways that we might take the country. No, the fight that we are in is a fight between people who want to destroy the country and make a new one, and people who love America.
Ooh, we're already starting out with the scary tone. They already start with the premise that the revolution is coming and we gotta do something if we don't fight back. These groups are not as big as you think. Now don't get me wrong, the mostly peaceful is such a dumbass argument, because I can use the same argument for Muslim people. They are overwhelmingly peaceful, but you know what a crazy minority can do. These places are mostly contained to blue areas. If they come to red states, in red districts, I doubt they're gonna get far, dude. Just chill. If it's a left-wing federal government and they don't want to prosecute federal crimes, the police can get them on state crimes and lock them up, because the president cannot pardon state crimes.
The core idea driving the revolution is called systemic racism. That's the ridiculous theory that America was founded on a lie, that it was never designed to produce and protect freedom or equality.
Okay, so I have to stop right there just to point out how asininely stupid that is. Systematic racism is not an ideology, it's a methodology. And two, the term has nothing to do with that. Let's look at the actual definition. Okay, so here, we're just gonna use this definition for now. Institutional racism, also known as systemic racism, is a form of racism that is embedded as normal practice within society or an organization. It can lead to such issues as discrimination in criminal justice, employment, housing, healthcare, political power, education, among other issues. So, where is America mentioned in this definition? Now, I think you're starting from the false premise that the left thinks everything, including the country, was all built on systemic racism, not that systemic racism means the founding of the country, etc. If you want to argue it existed in America, absolutely. You can't deny that. You'd have to be stupid to deny that. The right, because they like to be contrarian, says it doesn't exist in today's society, which is bullshit. Although I prefer systemic discrimination because it goes towards the genders too. Or however, I think the left is wrong in declaring everything, including the founding of the country, is systemically racist, but I think the right is stupid for claiming that it doesn't exist. The right's arguing that because they want to be contrarian to the left. Because in modern America, you definitely have an argument here for criminal justice, employment, and education. You could all make decent arguments for them existing. Because if you frame it the right way, the right will flip immediately on how they feel about systemic discrimination when I bring up criminal justice and how the courts heavily favor women over men for doing the same things. I would also argue education forcing young black kids in these poor black communities to go to these shit schools infested with gangs. I'm looking at you, left, because you're the ones who are against school choice. I could make an argument that that is too, but that's a long discussion. Because they think giving more money to these schools will make them better. Yes, the gangs disappear if you give the school money. It's as brain dead as the right-wing argument is, just don't do crime! And don't look at social dynamics. Anyway, going on, this went too long.
According to this idea of systemic racism, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence are just the first in a long line of hypocritical, disingenuous scams designed to proclaim lofty ideals about justice and truth and liberty while secretly perpetuating bigotry and keeping black people down.
Now this, I can mostly agree with. The left does try to frame it as it was built that way to disenfranchise black people and minorities. I definitely think it was abused to do that, but that's not what it was made for. However, one of the pictures they tend to taunt here, I think, is actually completely wrong. That girl is right. The government does have to pay what they owe. Real talk. You owe all of us. You owe the descendants of slaves. You owe us our land. Might go on a funny tangent that the right always brings up, but the Democrats were the party of slavery. But then they also are like, nah, I don't think you need to get your land. We don't have the money. We don't have the space, etc., etc. But then I believe, check me on this if I'm wrong, I believe it was a Democrat that weaseled out of the contract to give black people their land. So you think they'd want to right the wrongs.
But people who believe in systemic racism, no matter how they protest to the contrary, believe that the evils America did were the result of America's fundamental systems.
Again, this is absolutely stupid argument. No, you can say America has just and correct ideals, and the system was exploited to institute barriers that became normalized. What the fuck was Jim Crow South? What would you call that then? Was that not systematic racism? Pretty sure that was. Again, and this is the funny part, if you're arguing with people on the right, like I do, that it exists, when they say it doesn't exist, all you have to do is frame it in a point in history or time, and even today, where a Democrat or left-wing institution was doing it, and then immediately, boom, they'll concede that it exists. It's all partisan bullshit. But again, it's all starting from this false premise that systematic racism is an ideology instead of a methodology.
The way that one representative of the Black Lives Matter movement put it is this: if the country doesn't give us what we want, we are going to burn down this system and replace it.
So this is what I mean by, this is fear-mongering on the right, and we can't solve problems when we do this. They go, here's a BLM person that said, if we don't get what we want, we'll burn it down. So if you believe in systemic racism, you agree with this. Bro, what? This is why we can't get these things fixed. The left misrepresents it, and the right denies it.
When George Floyd was killed, BLM led a series of protests that quickly became violent. Many well-meaning Americans gave those protests the benefit of the doubt at first. Some of us still are.
I think this is fair because right after this happened, there was that brief period where left, right, and center were all in agreement, and that was a great thing until people had to start rioting. Then I think it created a severe divide there. Right when it turned into rioting, I think that's when the divide immediately came back.
Because over the past few months, what we've seen is arson, looting, and wanton violence against police officers like David Dorn and Claudia Apollinaire, all in the name of an anti-cop agenda that the vast majority of black people oppose.
Yeah, and this is where I think this is exactly what I mean by conservatives are terrible at imaging. Why are we ignoring Antifa when Antifa was a massive part of this? And I'm really sick of the BLM killed David Dorn because he was a cop. No. There are niggas out there rioting, and they don't give a fuck who you are. If you try and stop them, they're gonna kill you. But this is because white conservatives are fucking dumb and they don't know what goes on in these neighborhoods. For real. I don't want to go full nigga here for a second, but I'm like, these are dudes that don't have a cause. They don't give a fuck. They just want free shit. If they try to rob a place and you try and stop them, they're gonna shoot you. I almost got killed in one of these before. Not because I tried to stop him, but because he's wrong place, wrong time. Alright? But stop milking his death against BLM. It's not a good look because black people in these neighborhoods know why these kinds of things are happening.
We've watched BLM tear down statues, not just of Confederate soldiers, but of America's greatest heroes, from Abraham Lincoln to George Washington and Christopher Columbus. This is a philosophy that is reaching its natural conclusion.
So, the philosophy of systemic racism ends in tearing down statues and revolutionary communism? What? Bro, you don't know anything about these groups, do you? The woke ideology is a broad mix of different things. This is someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, who doesn't listen to what these people are saying, and I know because he's not bringing up Antifa, who is heavily responsible for a lot of this too. I would argue more so, because Antifa hides in BLM. After Trump tried to declare it a terrorist group, there are Antifa leaders who even said to make sure you hide in liberal groups like Black Lives Matter. This guy really comes off as the result of a right-wing echo chamber. Both sides have serious echo chamber problems.
This is not a movement of the people. It is not a movement of the oppressed. It is not an uprising of those who have long been downtrodden. It claims to be all those things. But this revolution is run by the most powerful, credentialed, and wealthy people in the country.
I'll give you that, but they're not exactly an alliance. It's an alliance, but they're not the same thing. The Antifa BLM groups... Actually, here, let me back up. This is the best way I explain it. The radical communist groups, like Antifa, and parts of the BLM group, and the crony capitalists and big tech, and establishment Dems... The way I've always defined it is, imagine there's a huge diamond, and there's two thieves trying to get to it, and they need each other's skills to get into it. What happens once they get in there and get the one diamond? They're gonna both turn and point their guns at each other. They're working together, but they don't like each other. There are a lot of people on the left that saying they're only voting for Biden not because they like him, but because he's weak, and they feel they'd be able to bully and push him down. And they don't think they can do it with Trump. That's not them saying they like them.
The Black Lives Matter organization is run by people with PhDs, people like BLM co-founder and self-described trained Marxist Patrisse Cullors, who know exactly what they're doing. The systemic racism ideology is preached across the country by university professors like Boston University's Ibram X. Kendi, who recently received $10 million from the CEO of Twitter.
Yeah, he is human garbage. Both of them are human garbage, but their ideology is not systemic racism. A lot of it is based on critical race theory. Do you listen to what these people say?
Now, Joe Biden, even if he represents himself as some sort of moderate, has repeated the systemic racism mantra over and over again. Never forget that he has even offered a plan to root out America's inherent evil of systemic racism.
Oh no, Biden acknowledged systemic racism, but you know who else did? Fucking Trump. Trump acknowledged systemic racism, and no one said shit, and I said good for him. And I don't believe a word. Biden's just gonna do what the Democrats do. Elect me and I'll solve this problem. Alright. After election day, so how about that problem? Hello? Guys? But I guess now all of a sudden Trump is pro-communism? Because he acknowledged systematic racism exists? I don't know. The fuck are you talking about? That's basically it. And then it's just the rest is accusing the Democrats of being with them because they want the revolution, and it's like, no, they're cronies that are using them. And I don't like this right-wing narrative of Biden's a secret communist. Now, at least Kamala, I see the argument there after that video posted. There's, yeah, straight up saying, ending in the same place. They're like, yeah, straight up communism, but okay. It's like Biden, Pelosi, no, they don't give a fuck. They just want to remain in charge. They'll dispose of the far left when they're not useful anymore. The only people out of the ones you named that I think would actually want an ideological revolution would be the Squad. The rest of them, fuck no, they don't care. They're just gonna suck off the far left for votes and then dip. Anyway, I think that's it. I just want everyone to remain level. Don't fall for left-wing scare tactics. Don't fall for right-wing scare tactics, no matter what side you're on. Pay attention. Read as much as you can. Search for information. Don't listen to blatant partisans and then go, well, they said it, so I'm going to be mad about it. Alright? Everyone be safe. See you later. Don't get shot. For real.